And what was your undergrad?
It was neuroscience at UC Santa Cruz.
Oh, yeah. We talked about that briefly.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really cool. So do you feel like you're learning something with the material that I'm presenting?
Yeah, I mean, this is the first college level anatomy and physiology course that I took.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So I'm definitely learning stuff.
Okay. And how about the neuroscience? I mean, how did you do that without taking an anatomy class?
Well, the curriculum at UCSC did not require a anatomy and physiology class. We kind of just had an intro to neuroscience course and then went into advanced neuroscience. Didn't really cover like anatomy all that much.
Okay. That's interesting. And then what did what kind of stuff did you learn in that neuroscience class?
We learned a lot about like the biological mechanisms, like kind of like all the molecules and enzymes that play a role in like brain development and like forming memories, things like that.
Okay, so it was pretty deep then, huh?
Yeah, definitely. It was just really more focused on the little details than like the
Mm-hmm.
overall like, lobes of the brain and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Did you get to a level of like neuroplasticity and stuff like that, or not really that far?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
applied stuff?
we talked a little bit about that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
plastic.
Mm-hmm. No, that's kind of cool stuff that I like. I put a few things in our book 5 on neuroplasticity because I think it's really valuable stuff.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
How to apply it, And then what do you want to do when you finish with this? You just taking classes right now, or you have a goal?
Well, I'd like to apply to PA school next year. So
Oh, okay.
hopefully I can get the classes that I need, get some experience.
Okay. That's physician assistant, right?
Yeah.
PA? That's cool. Very, very cool. Well, with that, we can definitely talk some more at some point. I want to know, what schools you're looking at and stuff like that, because I always like to keep studying things, and PA or NP is one of those things I might want to do at some point. So keep me posted with your studies if you could. That'd be great.
Yeah,
Look at
definitely.
That'd be fantastic. Yeah. Look at that. We have a little small group here. How is everybody? Everybody had a good fourth, or not really worried about the fourth?
It was nice. Spent it with some friends. How about
Fun.
you?
Yeah, that's what I did. I worked on Friday and Saturday, and I'm pretty physical. So the day after, I'm usually a little wiped out. So we just hung and did some grilling and just chill out. And then today we had our granddaughter here, so that was cool. She just left, and now we got a little class here. So let's just get started and keep it short and sweet, so you don't have to worry too hard. And but first of all, I wanna congratulate all you guys having. I see most people had done test 1, and most people did really well in test 1. How was that for you? Was it pretty easy since it's open book, or did you struggle with that, or how did you feel about all that? Give me some feedback.
I found it pretty, with the open book, I found it pretty easy.
Okay.
Not easy, but
Straightforward.
not as hard. Yeah, for sure. That there was one question though, that it was the simple question, oh, what is the function of, I think, physiology or something that.
Yeah, I know. I haven't read this test in a long time, and it's a bit weird worded. I mean,
because it was either it was not choose all, it was one answer for that one. So I wasn't sure if that was one of the questions that I got wrong, because I wasn't able to. We weren't able to.
Yeah. That's right. I didn't go back. Yeah. I think I have to. I think that was number 9. I want to revert that question. They're all from a test bank, but it seems like everybody did good enough that we don't have to worry about it too much.
Yeah.
So that's good. The second test, and so I want to all congratulate you guys. This is a fast-paced class. You're doing great work. I'm just been grading a little bit now. I'm going to have to finish grading later what you all did. I'm going to try to finish that tonight. But it all looks really nice, the way you were putting work into it, the way you're coloring it. I hope you're learning those terms. I hope it's useful homework for you guys to understand it. Any feedback you guys have for what I give you, please feel free to tell me so I can make it better. But yeah, when we're right there, any questions you guys have in terms of the material, where you're at, roadblocks and things like that you would like to bring up right now or today? I know I throw it right at you, huh? Well, I keep talking, and you guys just make sure interrupt me and ask me questions as we go through it. I want to try to keep this class to about half an hour today, not too crazily, because in terms of the deadline stuff. Oh, if you did not pass the test, or if you did not, if you missed the test, make sure you connect with me. Give me a text and tell me what's going on, and we can work behind the scenes and make sure we can make it work for you. Okay. So even if you hear this as a recording, please make sure to reach out. It's a little hard for me to catch everybody. So don't go hide behind the bush because you spaced out taking this test. I will work with you, especially in a class like this, this fast of a class we have. Because today we're going to start opening test number 2. And test number 2 is very different than test number 1. So I want to make sure we work on that and give you a little practice testy thing before we close out today. The other thing then what's coming up this week already is we're already getting into booklet number 4 this week. And then next week, we're going to do booklet 5 and then finish up with number 6. So keep up with the listening to the material and with the quizzes, even if it's a lot. Don't think you have to memorize everything. Be aware that, let me do that real quick. Let me show you where I want you to go now. When we look at, now you need to be in my, where the heck did my thing go? I thought I had my canvas up, but I did not have my canvas up. Okay. So for this material coming up now, if I just look into the future briefly, I know we're having a test and, oh God, Jesus. Mr. Not Organized. Sorry about that. Log in. Let's see. Oh, really? Do you think I know my password? Okay. Too bad. So I guess I can't go in right now. I don't know what's wrong with me. But if you go to modules on test number 3 at the bottom, the last module, if you go into that, in there is a test review under test 3 review. And is a 4-page review. I want you to print that out if you could, because in there, everything is spelled out that you need to know in terms of the last test. And I'm trying to just get that from here real quick. Sorry, then I can show you what it looks like. It's kind of like the first one that we have, the first test review for test number 1. Labeling, test 3 review. There we go. Okie dokie, there we go. Good. Now I can share that with you, I think. And that should work. There you go. So see, when you go through the chapters, you can see that when I'm pulled up, right? When you go through the chapters now on booklet 4, you do the heart, you keep that test review in, you print that out from the last module where it says test 3, and you keep that next to you because this is all you need to know for the test number 3 when it comes to physiology, like the questions that are multiple choice or true false. So test number 3 is partly like test number 1. And so as you work your way through the material, I need you to have this printed out, or at least on on a second screen or something that you can understand. You don't need to memorize everything. You need to know those things on these 4 pages for the last exam that will come up. And this is, I'm telling you this now because we're starting to work on the heart and get through it, and it's a lot of material, and it's kind of overwhelming if you think you have to know everything, but you don't have to know everything. You have to know the labelings like you learn now for test number 2, and we're going to get into that a little bit more, and you have to then know those 4 pages. So that's for test 3. But let's go now back to test number 2, because that's the one that's this week, that we're trying to do this week. And again, if you need a little extension on those tests, it's okay. I can do that. You just shoot me a text. I do not open it after the close date on those until you shoot me a text, because the homeworks are open till the end of the class. But as we comes to test number 2 now, what I want you to do is I want you to have the first term list with you. And I actually want you to take that out right now, so you make sure you have it next to you before you start taking that exam. And then those terms are all the terms that can be used on that test. And what I do is I point to structures on those terms, on modules, and the structures are from, no, not this one. The structures are from the term list. And so let me go to my Word document, because there, I thought I had it there. No, I don't have it there. I am heck of disorganized today. Sorry about that. Stop share. There we go. Can you guys see that skull? Somebody? Hello? Anybody?
Yeah, we can see it.
All right, good. I need some interaction. So you will have on the test number 2, you will have me has a picture and it points to a structure like this here in between the 2 superciliary arches. It points to this and says, what's this landmark? Name this landmark. And then you look at your list and you say, oh, that's the glabella. And you type in glabella into the little space on the bottom that it gives you to type in. You have to type in. It's not a multiple choice situation on this test. And so you do that, and when you finish, you will see that you feel like you missed a lot, because this test, I have to put the answers behind it. And then if you have a little misspell, like glabella, you spell with 1 L, not with 2 L's, it's easy, that's wrong. And then I go in the background and I, as fast as I can, so you're not freaking out. Don't freak out if it's a low score, because I go into the background and I correct it by hand and take all those little spelling things out, because I'm not going to worry about that. And so I need you to understand that for the second test. You can text me if you have a freaking thing, and I'll help you, or I go right in and try to correct yours, so you don't have to worry about it. But don't be alarmed. Be always, when you have a problem in this class, talk to me anyway. So what I want to do now, unless you have questions, and again, if something comes up, just speak into me. I want to do a little practice quiz, like how I'm doing it on the test, since we're just starting. And I want you to pay attention to those terms that I'm using on it, because very often I, try to be a little guidey in that. So if you take out a sheet of paper, you're going to go right through it, and the first few are sort of skull related. The first on the first list, the first column of the list, and the first term I want you to give me is a structure, a landmark, that's right here when you open up the skull. That sits right in here in that little groove inside here that we can see. And I want you to tell me what structure that is, or I want you to write it down as number 1. And then the second one that we can see right here is in the front of the skull. If this is the skull, this is the front. There is this little thing with holes poked in it, and I want you to tell me what that thing is. And that's number 2. Number 2. And then as we go to the muscles, and this is under muscles, so this is the facial muscles here, for a few of them here. I want you to tell me, what's this big muscle here that's on the side of the face? That's number 3 on the side of the face. From this bone here, which is the zygomatic bone, or the arch, actually, the zygomatic bone is right here. So it's the zygomatic arch of the temporal bone, and then it goes down to the mandible, the corner here of the mandible. So that muscle, I like you to tell me. That's number 3. And then number 4, we'll stay with the muscles here real quick. Number 4, we have a muscle. Let me make sure that's on the side here. So this is the half head here on the side, from the corner of the lip down to that corner here, down to the lower jaw. What muscle is that called? That's number 4. Muscle. I know I'm throwing this right at you if you're in a regular class. We have a few weeks of doing this stuff. So I'm trying to guide you here. All right, that was number 4. Number 5, I want you to tell me, what is this whole bone? So when I ask you questions, I ask, what's this bone? So I have the whole bone here. So that's number 5. What's this whole bone? And then I can ask you, what's a landmark? And the landmark is a part of the bone. So number 5, I want this whole bone here. What's this whole bone called? Number 5, the whole bone. And then number 6, since we're here, I want this landmark of this bone, this thing here sticking up. This is C2, it sticks up on C2. What's this landmark called? That's number 6. So we got 5 is the bone, the whole bone, and 6 is this landmark. Those are the most confusing 2 things I usually ask students. Because I only ask those 3, then I ask muscles. So bone, landmark, and muscles. All right, so that's for that. So number 5, number 6 is here, and then number 7. Oh, look at the rib. We got a rib right there. Let's see. Give me this part. This is a rib here. Give me this part of the rib. Actually, this part here, this round thing here in the front here, this part of the rib. It's landmark. What's that landmark called of the rib? It's number 7. Rib landmark there. Rib landmark. And then number 8, we're going to move right down to the hip. I would like for you to tell me on the hip bone. Give me the hip. Where's my hip bone? I guess we're going to go with the sacrum. On the sacrum, number 16. I want you to tell me here, this is the sacrum, right? In the front of the sacrum, you got these things that go across here. It used to be the discs. What are those called? That's number 8. Those things that go across on the sacrum, number 8. And then number 9, since we're at it right over here, this is the chest plate. And the bottom here in the chest plate is that little thing sticking down. It's actually really sharp. What's that thing called? It's a landmark. What's that landmark called? That's number 9. Number 9, landmark. Landmark here, number 9. And then number 10, we're going to go right to the upper extremity in the bones. And again, I'm sorry we don't have more time to talk about it, but if you like it, we can always talk after class. I want you on the shoulder blade, I want you to tell me, what's this landmark called? That's this ridge here that goes across on the back. It's on the back side, the posterior side. What's this ridge called? That's number 10. Number 10. And then number 11, when you follow the ridge to the end, it comes to this point right here. And that's the tip of the shoulder. What's that called? That's number 11. I know it's a little nasty. Number 11, number 12. We're going to have this upper arm bone here. And I want you to tell me the landmark. The landmark this bump right here. There's two bumps. One is on the outside, one is more in the front. I want the one more on the outside here. It's for the muscles that attach here, they go to this bump. What's that bump called? That's number 12. That bump. I hope I remember all of these. And then we can go further down. So this is, when I look at the forearm bones, there is one forearm bone that goes to the thumb side. And that's usually, not usually, that's always the radius. The radius always is on the thumb side. So you want to keep that in mind. I hope it comes out in the videos. And so on the radius, I want you to tell me there is a bump here, a little down, but still fairly proximal by the elbow. What's that bump called by the radius? That's number, are we got number 13 or number 12? Shoot. I got number 13. Number 13, that is. So that bump here. And then let's go down to the hip. We need to do a few hip points. And if you look from the back on the pelvis, so that was the sacrum here. And the back, I got these bumps, these two bumps. What are these two bumps called? And you can feel them on your own hip. Those bumps, they're pretty bony. What are those bumps called? That's number 14. Those bumps. The bump on the back of the butt. Number 14. And then number 15 is the sit bone here. So if you look at a hip from behind, there's this thing you're sitting on, or you should be sitting on instead of on your butt, like most of us sit here, but we should be sitting here at least part-time. What's that called? That is a landmark. That sit bone landmark. That's number 15. Number 15. And then from there, we go down to the femur, the thigh bone. Oh, look, I don't have much thigh bone. Well, never mind. That's okay then. But we have the knee. And when you look at the lower leg bones here, the tibia and the fibula, you got this bump in the front of the knee. What's that bump called? What's that bump in the front of the knee called? That's number 16. Number 16. Number 16. The bump in the front of the knee. And then from there, we can go into muscles. And this is where it gets a little harsh. But we got to do it. So let's talk about the arm muscles. Or actually, since we have the trunk here, let's talk about the trunk. If you open the trunk up and you go all the way to the back of the vertebra. So this is the vertebrae are right behind these vessels. And you have this muscle that goes up all the way in the front of the back of the vertebra and comes down to the inner thigh. And it's one of those hip flexors. It raises the thigh up muscle. So that's a hip flexor. I want you to tell me what that muscle is called. And that will be number 17. Okay, we're doing a whole test right here. Number 17. You better keep that list handy. And so, yeah, here's the threat, huh? And so then number 18, I want you to tell me the muscle that covers the shoulder here, the outside of the shoulder. What is that muscle called? So that's that muscle there. That's number 18. 18, the shoulder pad muscle. And then when we go further up onto the shoulder blade, we have that ridge here again. And then on top of the ridge, we have a muscle. It's one of those rotator cuff muscles. What's that one called? That's number 19. The muscle on top of the ridge of the back of the scapula. And then we go further down the arm. Oh, I want to make sure I point to you that when you look at the front, this is kind of an inside shot of the arm. So this is the front here. This is the back. The back here, that's the triceps. In the front, we got this biceps, and it's got two heads. So when you do on the test, you got to make sure, because I got one place where I remove that, and I'm going to ask you the muscle underneath that. And I want you to tell me, what's the muscle underneath that top muscle called in the front of the upper arm? That's number 20. muscle on the front of the upper arm underneath that two-headed one. That's the one that sticks, the one that guys like to have big. They actually had this muscle big, and this just sticks out, actually. That's the funny part. So that's for that part here. And then we go to the forearm. And when you look at the forearm, let me make it a little smaller. Oh, not that small. I guess a little small is too small. All right. Well, that's all right. We can handle it. So when you look at the forearm, this is the front of the forearm. You see the palm of the hand. So the palm of the hand is important because that's a muscle name, palm of the hand. And then you see here, oh, you also see the thumb goes right here. And in an anatomical position, this part is against the body. So the pinky is against the body, the thumb you have on the outside. And so then this becomes the medial epicondyle on the bone, on the humerus. And so all these muscles in the forearm are attached, the ones we're talking about. There are more deeper ones, but we don't need to worry about those. It's enough already. They are all attached on that medial epicondyle. And then they go, there's 4 of them that we need to study here. One goes right across, and then one goes towards the thumb, and one goes towards the palm of the hand, and then the other one goes towards the pinky here on the side. So those 4 we want. Yeah, if you got questions, ask. If you have a question, just start talking. And then we can, especially for this is complicated stuff. And so these 4 muscles I want you to know. So I'm gonna ask you a question. Number, what are we on? 21, I think. I want you to tell me, what is this muscle called here that goes to the, if you don't question, put yourself on mute though, okay? That goes from the medial epicondyle into the palm of the hand. What is that muscle called? Look on your list. It's under the arm muscles. It's one that goes, forearm muscles, into the palm of the hand. So that's 21 right here. And I'm going to find it here, 21. Good. All right, so that's good. And we talk about it when we solve the quiz. And then when you look at the back of the arm, the outside, the back side, you have a big muscle right here that goes sort of all the way from the upper arm, actually. Sorry, the picture shot out. These aren't the best pictures because I took them right after COVID started, and we didn't even think about taking them. I just took them and then ended up using them. So I got what I got. But there's one muscle that goes from the the lower part by the elbow of the upper arm and goes all the way down to the thumb side right in here. And that muscle, I want you to tell me what that muscle is called. That's number 21. No, 22. So that's that muscle. That's sort of the rich muscle. It's really, I understand if you don't know. I want to make sure that we talk about it. And pay good attention to memorizing that. All right, that's that muscle that I want you to know. And then when we go to the legs, ooh, a little fast. When we go to the legs, we got some stuff that's in the butt area. And we got one big one here. Well, depends on who it is. Huh? And I want you to tell me, no, actually, it's not the one. Sorry about that. Okay, I want you to tell me when you look at the thigh here, the thigh in the front of the thigh, what is this top? No, what is this muscle called that's here on the inside that goes towards the knee? The medial side of the front of the thigh. I want you to tell me that, and that's number 23. The medial side, so that's the inside on the front of the thigh. And then last but not least, I would like for you to tell me a muscle that's, this is the leg. So this is a foot right here. This is the big toe. So you got that big bone, that's the shin bone. But on the outside here, we also have a bone. And there is a muscle group actually that's attached on the outside of that small bone and goes all the way down to the ankle. And what's that muscle called? That's number 24. Last one. You guys are good, paying attention here. I hope. All right, that's number 24. Okay, so after that, let's go and try to solve what we just did and talk about it. So make sure you ask me questions at this point, okay? Be very verbal here. So also shout out if you know the answer. On number 1, what was number 1? Does anybody know? Hello. Nobody? Hello. Did everybody leave? No, you still here. Oh, okay, good. Hi, do you like my background? I have a new background here. All right, anybody know what I pointed out here? Number one, that was the sella turcica. So when you look at the skull from the inside, you got that big hole. That's the foramen magnum. That's where the brain actually goes up and down into the head, and then the spinal cord comes out. And then a little in front of it is the sella turcica, which holds the pituitary gland, which is pituitary gland is a very important gland, and glands grow very fast, and so brain doesn't grow fast. Brain goes very slow. If it grows at all. And so we want to encase a gland that can grow very fast and have it encased in bone so it doesn't take over the space and just pushes into the brain, because brain's also very soft as a tissue. And so the pituitary gland sits in that bony encasing, and that bony encasing is known as the sella turcica. You see it on the list, you guys?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So that's number one. Not number two was right in front of it. What was number two? That whole thing, the one with the holes in it, this plate. Anybody found number two?
Is it ethmoid bone?
Yeah, it is the ethmoid bone, but I'm asking for the landmark. So it's a part on the ethmoid bone. What I'm looking for is the cribriform plate or the crista galli, either one of those. You see those on the list?
Yeah. And so on the test, if we were to put any of those two, it would be right.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And so make sure on the test you differentiate between bones and landmarks. Most of what I ask is landmarks and then muscles. And the few I ask for the whole bone.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, it's a little tricky. When we're in class, I can kind of walk around and make sure and look over your head, but on this kind of test we can't do that. And then number three. Oh, then we go to the face. Hold on, face and muscles. Sorry, I'm a little all over the place. Number three, what was this one? Anybody? Muscle on the side of the face. It's very strong if you chew a lot. It's a chewing muscle. It's the masseter. The masseter is a chewing muscle here. And then the other one I ask you in the face is number 4. And did anybody get that one? The one from the corner of the mouth downward?
Depressor Anguli Oris.
Very good. Yes, Depressor Anguli Oris. So you got the Depressor labii, this one inferioris, and then the anguli. When it says anguli, you're thinking of the angle of the mouth. And then on top, you got the zygomatic that goes upward. So you got one that goes down, pulls the corner of the mouth down, and one pulls the corner of the mouth up. And again, you always look in the perspective of function at the end. So muscle names sometimes are named like where they are, like the anguli, and then what they do, they depress the angle of the mouth. And so that's why they are naming it like this weird stuff. So make sure in anatomy you slow down the language and try to understand what the wording is. And then I think studies are much easier than if we just memorize lists. All right, enough said on that. Number 5 was that's one of the bone. What was that bone? The yes, the atlas. The first bone is C1, that's the atlas. Then the second bone is C2, and that's called the axis. But on C2, I asked for a landmark. And what's that landmark called? That thing sticking up there. Anybody got that? It's okay if it's wrong. Got the dens? Yeah, it's the dens. That's the dens. It's a tooth. Dens means tooth. Actually, the other name they use for that is odontoid process, and that's it's a tooth. And then, oh, what the heck was the next one? I forgot. Oh, on the rib, that round bump here. Anybody have that? I'm touching mine right now. Is a head, the head of a rib. So very often when you have structures like a rib, you got that one thing that's roundish on top, that they call that a head. Then the thing that comes after that, snare and slender, they call that a neck. And then here they got this next bump that comes up. A bump is often called a tubercle. So they call that the rib tubercle, for example. And when you look further down, like on here, this is called a head. Then this is called a neck in here. And so the terminology kind of comes back. You know, you got to consider these people were in, you know, Middle Ages, you know, drinking a lot of wine or something in the middle of the night with candles, and then they made up names. I know. It's too bad we couldn't be those people doing that. Anyway, that's probably was pretty gross. Mr. Cadavers and all that. But anyway, what is this called? Going across. Number 8. Anybody? Transverse lines or ridges. Number 8. And number 9 is this little bump here that comes from the chest plate, the breastbone, the chest bone, and then a tip in the bottom where you push. If you push on it, it hurts. Don't press too hard. It might break. It's not good if it breaks. Don't do it. But what's that called? Come on, it's a very nice word.
Xiphoid process?
Yes, it's the xiphoid process. The xiphoid process. So perfect. That's it. You can guarantee that's on the test. I love that word. Yeah, you better keep that list. And then next one, God, he's threatening again. When we look at the scapula, the back of the scapula, this ridge, what is this ridge called? Number 10. Anybody? The spine of the scapula. It's called the spine of the scapula. And if we go and follow that ridge to the end point where the ridge here is, the edge, what's that edge called? What's that bone part called, that landmark? Number 11. Acromion process. I know it's sorry, it gets a little bit detailed there. But if you touch your shoulder on the outside, the tip there, that's that acromion process. It's a little tender. And then you falls down a little bit, and then you get an X bump, and the next bump is right there. And you can feel that on yourself. And what's that bump called? That's number 12. Number 12. Speak if you have something written down. It's the greater tubercle. Greater tubercle. And then from there, we go to the forearm. And I have these forearm muscle bones. So again, the one that goes to the thumb is the radius. And one that goes to the pinky is the ulna. So that's very important because then the muscles that lay on top of it are also known as radialis and ulnaris muscles. So we want to know that architecture a little bit. And so on the radius, we had this bump here that I was talking about. I think that's number 13. And this bump is actually a muscle from up here attaches to it. What's that bump called? Anybody know? 13? How many? Look on your list with the terms that have radius in it, or radial, or something like that.
Radial tuberosity.
There you go, radial tuberosity. So if you go through the test, right, and you already know, oh, this is the radius because it goes to the thumb, you look, how many terms you got on the radius? Because I don't scramble the terms. The term list is all the way from top to bottom. First the bones and then the muscle. First the skull, and then it finishes at the leg bones or the foot bones, and then we get the muscles. First the facial muscles, then the trunk, and then the upper and then lower extremities. So, you know, if you have to guess, go with that kind of, you know, logic, and then you can narrow it down at least to a few of them. All right, so that was perfecto mundo. And then when you get to the hip, we're going to have a back of the hip bone bump. What is that called? Anybody? It's a long name.
Posterior inferior iliac spine.
Posterior superior iliac spine.
Oh, okay.
So the inferior one is down here. So that's the superior. The inferior is actually this bump here. So it's that very, very good. Very good. If you can actually write, if it's on a test, you can write PSIS. Some of these long things, they abbreviate those. And so if you know what it means, you can use that. You don't have to spell it all out if you don't want to, but you can. And that, if it comes out the test. That was number 14. And then number 15 is the sit bone. Anybody sit bone? You should be sitting on it right now if you're sitting. Oops, let me sit up straight. Sit bone, anybody? Taking once, twice. Tibial, ischial tuberosity. That's your sit bone, the ischial tuberosity. So it depends on how you say it. I say it ischial, but some people say ischial because it's an SCH. I'm Swiss German. We have a lot of these shush in our language, so I do the ischial. Anyway, that's number 15, and then we get to the leg bone, and then the leg bone here, the knee area. So this is the lower leg. This is the thigh. What's that bump called? The bump in the front of the leg. Number 16. Bump in the front of the leg. Anybody?
Tibial tuberosity.
Tibial tuberosity. Excellent. Some people, like teenage boys, get that because all the quad muscles, all the front of the thigh muscles go into this part, and when it grows really strong, then that gets irritated. They call it Osgood-Schlatter, or tibial tendonitis. Whenever you see the word itis behind in a word at the end, it's inflammation. And so like that will give you, if you have terminology, you'll learn that kind of stuff. It's kind of cool. All right, and then from there, I think I went to the muscles. So that was number 16. And then, we went to the muscles here. So number 17 is that muscle, round muscle here that goes from the spine behind all these organs down to the inner thigh. Anybody caught that? Schmancy name. Number 17.
Psoas.
Yes, super. That is awesome. So that's the psoas here. Then that on the side here is the iliacus that goes to the same place. You can actually, this is quite hard to sense and feel. This is easier to feel because you have right the bone here, the hip bone, and you just go right on the inside, and that's where you feel. It's really sensitive on people. This gets irritated a lot and gives people back pain when they sit a lot. So it's a trippy thing because you could have back pain, think your back hurts, but it could be this muscle. Like I get that a lot, and I have to stretch it out. Anyway.
I'm sorry, doctor. What was that muscle again?
Psoas. The psoas and then the iliacus. You got it?
Yeah.
Good. And then, so that's for number 17. And then number 18, we go to this. What's this muscle called here? The shoulder pocket muscle. The deltoid. So that muscle is the deltoid. You can also see it here pretty nicely. And then when you take further, go onto the shoulder blade in the back, you got a muscle on top of above the spine of the scapula, and then you got a couple below. What's the muscle on top called?
The trapezius.
Almost the soup. That's good because trapezius will be on top of that, superficial, layering over it, and then that one is then the supraspinatus. Mm-hmm. I don't have a good picture of the trapezius. That's, you see here, that's trapezius. This is trapezius right here. This right here is trapezius, and then it's in the back. It wraps around the clavicle and then the spine of the scapula, and it goes up to the neck and the spine in the back. It's a really cool muscle, the trapezius, but it's a hard one for me to pin because it doesn't show up as nice. And then below here we got the infraspinatus, and then we got the teres minor, and then the teres major. You can see how the minor goes underneath the deltoid here into the backside because they go all into the greater tubercle on the humerus, and then the lowest one goes more into the underneath side, and that muscle actually helps with the latissimus dorsi muscle. That's the teres major, helping the latissimus dorsi. So if you need to identify, you know that's the difference. This is the teres minor, and this is the teres major. So minor is on top, major is on the bottom. All right, so that's the things up there. And then when you go further down, you get to the arm. I told you the back of the arm is the triceps. The front of the arm here is the biceps. And if you take and bi means two. So those are the two-headed muscle. Unfortunately, I don't have a shot right from the front. You can sort of see there's a little bit of two here. But if I take that away, underneath that is the next muscle. That was number 20. What's that muscle called? Anybody got that?
Brachialis.
The brachialis, very, very good. So biceps brachialis on top. If I take that away underneath, is the brachialis. And then we get to the forearm muscles. And the forearm muscles are interesting. The one that I pinned you, what I wanted you to know is 21, I think. Yes. Is the one that goes here straight to the palm of the hand. What's that one called? Anybody caught that language when I say palm of the hand?
Palmaris longus.
Yes, very good. So that's the palmaris longus. And then I got a few around it. So now I want to pay attention to the thumb right here and the pinky right here. And so the thumb again was the bone, what we call was the radius. That's the thumb side is the radius. And then the pinky is the ulna. And so when I have here, I have multiple muscles. I got 4 of them. I got one that goes across. That's the pronator teres. And then I got one that goes towards the thumb side. And that's the Flexor Carpi radialis. So that's where the thumb comes in as radialis. And Carpi means the carpal bones are right here. And Flexor speaks to the motion. It bends your wrist, it flexes your wrist. So that's what that does. And then you got that palmaris longus here that you can sort of see how it goes into the palm of the hand, just right down the center. And on the outside, you have the last one that we concern ourselves with, and that's the Flexor Carpi Ulnaris. And again, the ulna speaks for the fact that it goes to the pinky. So those are those 4 forearm muscles that we worry about. Does that give you a little insight? Is that some clarity, or is that just like way too complicated right now?
It's clear.
Okay. Wow, that's good. Man, all that, you guys are really sharp, huh? That's awesome. Picking up real fast. So then when I take the hand, the arm, the forearm, and go to the backside of the forearm, I got multiple muscles here. And the one that I pin is this big one, and it's really hard to see. I'm really sorry about that. The video, the test picture shows these things better. But it starts on top of on the bottom of the upper arm, the distal part, right by the elbow, and it goes all the way down onto the thumb side, right about here. Did anybody pick up what that muscle is called? That was number 22. No? Yeah?
Extensor Carpi radialis longus.
Almost. Good one. So the extensor Carpi radialis is in here. Actually, I think it's this one here. This one. So I would actually take it on the test if you're that close. The one that I'm pinned here is the Brachioradialis. So when you take the arm, right, and you got the forearm right here, and then here, this is the brachioradialis. It's the same muscle. So you see like it delineates the forearm front from the forearm back kind of thing. And so that muscle here, that top one is the brachioradialis. And you can also see how it goes all the way up to the sort of the distal part of the upper arm of the brachial area is the upper arm, right? So that's why the term comes brachioradialis. And then the one you used is the extensor Carpi radialis. So very good picking of the muscle, because extensors are these muscles in the back. They straighten out the wrist or they straighten out the fingers. So that's the motion. And then Carpi is, again, they go to the carpals, and radialis is because it's on the radial side. You have, I kind of, if I pin it in here anywhere, that's the muscle. We don't have, these are policies muscles. They're small little things. That sort of a more extensive analysis. That's just too much info. I have to look those up all the time. And I work with them. I mean, I have to really know where they attach and all of that. That's why I have to do that. But anyway, so then that's the brachioradialis, extensor Carpi radialis. And then we have this one that goes right here into the top of the hand, and you can see sort of how the tendons go into the fingers, and that's the extensor digitorum muscle. And then on the outside here, we got a couple, but if I pin something out here, it's going to be the extensor Carpi ulnaris muscle, because it goes to the pinky side. All right. Good. Let me know if that needs some more explanation. These are quite, again, these are topics that we spend quite some time on regular sized length class. And so if you're overwhelmed, you're in the right place. You spend time with it and pick up as much as you can. I think it's some cool stuff, I tell you that much. So when it comes to the thigh, we got on top here, we got the butt, that's the gluteus muscles, gluteus maximus on top. Here again, gluteus maximus. We take that away, we got the gluteus medius and minimus in here. And then this one going across in the back. This is the back of the thigh, of the butt, in the back of the butt. This going across is the piriformis. You see how the yellow thing comes out. This is the sciatic nerve. So that's coming out of here. That big thing goes right over the piriformis. And you see that in clinic a lot. People with back pain, sciatica, they actually have this piriformis that is really hard and that is stretched out and hard and pins the sciatic nerve, and that, you know, gives you grief, obviously. Then when you squeeze a nerve, the nerve don't like it. Nerves are pretty delicate that way. And then when we come down further, we got the back of the thigh. These are the hamstring muscles. On the inside, we got the semi-tendinosus and semi-membranosus. You see the tendony is more of a round thing. Membrane is a flatty thing. So the one underneath is the membranosus. And then on the outside laterally, you got the biceps femoris. And then when you turn the femur thigh around in the front, you got the rectus femoris on top. You got the vastus medialis in the front, on the inside, and the vastus lateralis on the outside. And if you take this rectus femoris off, on the underside, you have the vastus intermedius. These collective are four muscles. They're called the quadricep muscles, as in the four. So the quads, these are your quads. They make sure you can stand up straight. If they don't work, your knee will buckle. You can't straighten your knee out. So they're called gravity muscles because of that. So are the glutes, by the way. The glutes up here are also gravity muscles. If these don't work, you will buckle and you can't stand up straight. They will make sure the leg is straight up here. And then the quads make sure the knee is straight. And then as we get to the feet stuff in the lower extremities, we got muscles in the front here. We got muscles in the back. In the back, we got the gastrocnemius muscle and the soleus. These two bulging things on that backside. These are taken away from back here. And those are the ones, they go right into the Achilles tendon. So if you don't have those working, you can't stand up straight either. They make sure you can push your toes or your palm of the foot, your front of the foot, the ball of the foot into the floor and stand up straight. So they are very important for that. But the one that I wanted you to know was, 23 was up here. Vastus medialis, sorry, I just spoken out before. That was number 23. And then number 24 was a muscle that's right by the fibula. What was that called? Did anybody pick that up? A muscle by the fibula on the outside? Yep. No. It was the fibularis muscle. So that's the one I was going for there. It's a hard one to describe on this. I just want to make sure we talked about it. So if it's on the test, it's much clearer. It's right in here, this outside most muscle right by the fibula. All right, so let's do that. Are there any questions with what we just did? Or any thoughts, I guess, is the other thing. No? You all right? Is it just you can make this work? You understand what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry about when I used the word but. I'm sorry, I work with a lot of people and I worked at a lot. That meant the gluteus area. Sorry about that. If that made you uncomfortable, I'll be more sensitive to that. So with having said that, let me finish up with giving you an idea of what's coming up in the next week. We did talk about it already that the booklet 4 is next, and that's the cardiovascular system, the immune system, the endocrine system, as well as the skin. And I want to make sure you just keep working your way through the videos and the quizzes, and also do the labeling and the coloring exercises. And as far as the health kit is concerned, I think this week we're looking at blood pressure. And what I want you to do is pay some attention to your salt intake as it comes to the blood pressure, because salt is kind of the main culprit high blood pressure, and we get that a lot. And we you know, as a society, we consume too much salt when we relate it to blood pressure. And I don't think we can go measure our own blood pressure yet at Walgreens. I think those things are still closed. And not everybody has a blood pressure cuff at home. So that's sort of the health kit exercise I want you to do for this week. And again, keep going with the label and coloring. And also this week, of course, the number one thing that you need to pay attention to and do is the test, test number 2. So if you have questions along those lines with the test, or some, you know, fears around it, make sure you text me, and we can, you know, I can hopefully help you along the way and make you feel comfortable about taking it. But you should have plenty of time with the test, and I think it's open till next Sunday. So with that, that's all I have for today. Any questions or thoughts on you guys' end? No?
No, that was good. Thank you for going over it.
You think that was helpful?
Yes.
Okay. So make sure you keep that list too, okay, that we go through the test. Make sure you maybe even watch this video once before you do the test if you have some questions around it. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right. With that, I'm going to let you guys go. Thanks for paying attention and being part of the class.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
You too. Take care. Bye.
Bye.